there is no one that I know of, well, very few, I should say, that could define the deep state perhaps as well as you, because you've seen it from both sides. Can you tell me what the deep state really is?
Wow, we could go on forever, but I kind of call it an operation that's run by government gangsters. And I don't use that term lightly. I came to that term over the years where I found the erosion of our law enforcement and intelligence communities. For me, it started as a public defender when I caught FBI agents lying on the witness stand and there was no retribution or accountability, I should say. Then I became a terrorism prosecutor at Maine Justice. And similarly, I began to work on some pretty high profile cases, such as Benghazi. And I remember reporting to Attorney General Eric Holder saying, we're going about this the wrong way, not getting the bad guys killed. You're politicizing this act. And they just let it go. And so it kind of carries from there. But I've always believed the top level, whether I was chief of staff at DOD or whatnot, those levels have to be filled with people who serve the mission. And those people are the ones currently, Chris Wray and at the time Barr and now Garland, who are giving top cover for the corruption at the FBI and DOJ.
So I had a conversation with Bill Barr, and I found him to be a very reasonable man, etc. But as I've watched what has happened since he's left, the things he said, well, I was just protecting, make sure that this thing could come out and whatever. It's not playing out that way. So he's a very intelligent man. Was he part of the deep state, or was he just naive?
No, you can't be a two-time attorney general and have the accolades and acumen that Bill Barr does and be naive. You are part of the cover-up if you don't help expose it. And look, let me just give you one example. As the chief investigator for Devin Nunes on Russiagate, where we exposed the corruption about the lies to the FISA court perpetrated by DOJ and FBI who are willing to sling false information for political witch hunting purposes. We exposed that. Then we took that information over the course of years and we showed it to Bill Barr when he was the attorney general. And we said, look, we know we did that to Rod Rosenstein too. And we said, this didn't happen on your watch. Help us clean it up. We did the same thing with Chris Wray. And we supplied them with all the information. We said, help us. You're the executive. You're the top law enforcement officer. The American people want accountability. Will you provide it? And what I found, unfortunately, is that what the deep state does best is ride its mountain of arrogance for corruption cover-up purposes. And Bill Barr is right now, look, he's personally attacked me, which is fine. It doesn't bother me. I've been attacked by everyone in the country. And the most of the time I'm being attacked by whether it's liberals or Democrats or conservatives or whatnot it just means I'm over the top. And I called out Bill Barr for failing to do his job. He took, I guess, ire against that and wrote about me in his book about how I wasn't qualified to do this or that. And I found it ironic from a man who became attorney general at the age of 37 when he had less experience than I did for some of the jobs I held when I was older than he was. And so, I guess he's doing a sort of book tour lap.
So is this, Kash, the deep state, do you believe that this is a group of people that don't care who the president is? They're going to do what they want. Or are they controlled by a party? Or does it matter?
Wow, that's a great question. No one's ever put it to me like that. I think it's a hybrid, Glenn, if I'm being honest. I think when Donald Trump got elected, it was, we don't care who the president is. I think if you take the watershed moment of before his presidency, it was, we know better than anyone else. And once you combine those two periods of time and fast forward to today, it's almost like we don't care. We are in these positions, be it SEC, DEF, chairman, AG, FBI director, what have you. The public be damned. What I've found is these people have come into these positions to service their own egos and forgot their oath of office to serve the American people. And time again, you see that on the national security front. It's what I lobby against the most is the politicization of the national security and law enforcement apparatus of this country to the degradation of the FBI, DOJ, and DOD. And now you see most Americans, less than half, have faith in these institutions. In 2022 America, we don't believe in the core values that stood up our country to protect Americans first. It's just a tragedy.
Because we know it's not happening. I mean, you go back to Benghazi. We know we didn't get the truth. We know. I think all Americans, I don't care who you voted for, if you were honest and you just looked at the facts, you may not blame it on the same people or whatever, but you know that wasn't the truth. You look at what's happening to Donald Trump now, and he took documents that he said were he declassified. It's up to him to declassify them. Long story short, he did what he did, but he was president of the United States with the ability to do that. And then you look at the Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, who actually sent people into a skiff and told them to cut off the top of where it said top secret. She knew what she was doing. She didn't have the intention to hurt the United States. Well, yeah, but if I did that and I had great intentions, I just wanted to keep it for a record, you know what I mean? I would go to prison forever. Donald Trump has to apparently go to prison forever. So how can we have faith in these? Because they're not treating the same things in the same way.
You're absolutely right. And the way to restore that is to destroy the two-tier system of justice that now exists in everyday America. And it doesn't just exist at the FBI and DOJ prosecutorial levels. You see it exists at the state levels with the state attorneys general, such as in New York. You also see it at the whistleblower levels, where certain whistleblowers like Chiramella and Vindman are regaled and rewarded.
Yes.
And other whistleblowers who are recently coming forward at the FBI with actual corruption are essentially fired. Now, returning back to the two-tier system of justice, this is something maybe I'm biased in from my time as a prosecutor and public defender, but it used to be this was the one country in the world where if someone broke the law, the same law applied to everyone. But as you highlighted succinctly, that changed with the Hillary Clinton model in terms of how to handle classified information at that point. And it's just been a disastrous sort of downhill landslide ever since. And there is a solution. I've been a part of the machine to know that there is a solution, to be ticked off enough to get angry at the machine and then get past that anger and say, how do we fix it? One, people always say, is it just enough to have Congress? Is it enough to have the White House? It's not enough to have those three things alone. You need the American people. If the American people aren't educated in the fact that this can happen in modern day America, because Glenn, you know more than anybody, half of America, because of the disinformation campaign put on by the Democrats and the radical left and the corrupt FBI, thinks Donald Trump's an FBI asset, or a Russian asset. We have to go back and reteach the truth. And we shouldn't have to do that. But I think the American populace, I've always said this, has the biggest power to move the DOJ and the FBI, more so than Congress ever could with their subpoenas, and more so than the White House could with their appointments of AGs and directors. The only thing the FBI and DOJ listen to is the will of the American people. And if the will is saying you have violated your oaths and created a two-tier system of justice, we have to abolish it.